Hey friends, good to see you. And today we're looking at drug smuggling attempts that failed so hard they became headlines.
If stupidity were a controlled substance, these smugglers would have overdosed on their own genius. 1. The banana boat bust. Approximately 180 words. Some people hide drugs in cars, others in luggage. One Florida man thought the best cover for a cocaine shipment was a literal banana boat, as in a shipment of actual bananas. The plan was simple: smuggle hundreds of kilos of cocaine among crates of fruit heading to Miami. The problem? He didn't tell the shipping company. Workers unloading the cargo found the special bananas and did what any confused dock worker would do. They called the cops. The DEA showed up to discover $17 million worth of cocaine sitting neatly between Chiquitas. When questioned, the man said he assumed bananas and Colombia go together. True, but not like this. His only defense was that he didn't know fruit could betray him. Somewhere in a prison cafeteria, he's probably still avoiding the fruit salad. 2. The pigeon that couldn't fly straight, approximately 160 words. In 2016, Indian authorities arrested a pigeon. Yes, an actual bird. It was caught carrying tiny packets of heroin taped to its wings. The smuggler thought he'd invented a genius low-tech delivery system. Air Amazon for narcotics. The pigeon, however, had other ideas. It flew straight to a police station roof, probably because it was tired, high, or just fed up. Officers noticed the little bird struggling, inspected it, and discovered the wing-mounted stash like something out of a Looney Tunes cartel. Investigators later found the man who trained it using breadcrumbs as payment and positive reinforcement. He was reportedly shocked that his feathery mule turned informant. Turns out, even birds know when to quit a bad job. The pigeon was later detained in a local zoo, officially making it the only inmate who could literally fly out of prison but chose not to. The wheelchair wonder, approximately 175 words. Customs agents have seen everything, except a man who thought he could outsmart airport scanners with a motorized wheelchair full of cocaine. In 2022, a passenger at Miami International Airport rolled through customs, smiling, waving, pretending to be disabled. But the agent noticed one strange thing. The wheelchair's motor sounded like it was coughing. They ran a scan and discovered over 25 pounds of pure cocaine stuffed inside the battery compartments. The man's excuse? It's a medical prescription. For what, exactly? Boredom? When agents dismantled the chair, his expression reportedly went from innocent tourist to crash test dummy who just realized the airbags failed. The irony? The wheelchair actually worked perfectly fine before they seized it. After the arrest, he had to be wheeled out in a real one. Nothing says poetic justice like being busted for faking a disability and leaving the airport in genuine need of assistance. 4. The underwear empire, approximately 180 words. If you ever think your job is embarrassing, remember the man who tried to build a smuggling empire in his underwear. In 2015, airport security in Lisbon stopped a very nervous traveler wearing 5 pairs of tighty-whities. Each layer was stuffed with carefully wrapped packets of cocaine, giving him the silhouette of someone who had swallowed a beanbag chair. When asked why he was sweating so much, he claimed he had a medical condition. He wasn't wrong. That condition was called terrible decision-making. Agents estimated he had over 6 pounds of cocaine hidden in his DIY diaper system. The man apparently thought airport scanners couldn't detect drugs under clothing because it's private. Turns out, X-rays don't respect modesty. When police removed layer after layer, the final reveal was less master criminal and more confused toddler after laundry day. He's now famous for achieving what few can, becoming a walking, talking cautionary tale about mixing drugs and fruit of the loom. 5. The fake priest with holy powder, approximately 170 words. In 2019, Spanish authorities arrested a man dressed as a Catholic priest at Madrid airport. His cassock, rosary, and fake Bible looked convincing until the Bible set off a metal detector. Inside, a hollowed-out compartment stuffed with cocaine. When questioned, he insisted it was holy dust from Jerusalem. Officers remained unconvinced, perhaps because Jesus didn't bless his disciples with 8 kilos of suspicious white powder. The man admitted he'd joined a smuggling ring after seeing how much respect priests get in airports. It's unclear whether divine intervention helped him. but security footage showed him tripping over his own robe while trying to escape. The best part? He had a return ticket to Bogota under the name Father Jose Blanco. That literally translates to Father Joe White. You can't make this up. Even his alias confessed the crime. Somewhere in a police locker, that cocaine Bible now sits as proof that not all miracles are worth believing in. 6. The cocaine submarine, approximately 195 words. In 2019, the U.S. Coast Guard discovered something straight out of a James Bond parody, a homemade narco submarine in the Pacific Ocean carrying over 17,000 pounds of cocaine. The vessel was built from fiberglass, painted ocean blue, and powered by what looked like lawnmower engines taped together by someone who once saw Mythbusters. Inside were 4 men sitting in 3 feet of swamp water, desperately trying to stay afloat while worth nearly $500 million in drugs slowly sank around them. When intercepted, the captain tried to scuttle the sub by opening a valve, yelling, "We go down together." Spoiler, they didn't. The Coast Guard pulled them out before the boat vanished beneath the waves like the dumbest Titanic remake imaginable. It turns out drug cartels actually build dozens of these DIY submarines every year, because apparently, let's risk drowning in a floating sewer pipe full of cocaine is a valid business plan. The Coast Guard calls them low-profile vessels. Everyone else just calls them Darwin Awards on autopilot. 7. The nose job smuggler, approximately 160 words. Plastic surgery can change your life. But for one Colombian smuggler, it changed his nose too much. In 2018, a man arrived at Barcelona airport with fresh surgical bandages on his face, claiming he'd had a medical procedure. Doctors noticed something odd. His nose job was still bleeding profusely. 4 days later, when they x-rayed him, they found his new nose was literally made of cocaine. He'd surgically implanted half a kilo of compressed powder under his skin, turning his face into a living drug mule. The operation had been done by a black market doctor who apparently skipped the sterilization chapter in med school. The smuggler's disguise lasted about 10 minutes before customs staff noticed his nose looked like it wanted to file for divorce. When they told him they'd have to remove it, he muttered, "But it cost me everything." They responded, "It's about to cost you more." And just like that, the world's most expensive sniff ended in handcuffs. 8. The dog food disaster, approximately 180 words. Some criminals hide drugs inside luxury cars. Others pick kibble. In 2017, Australian customs officers stopped a shipment of premium organic dog food that turned out to contain nearly $100 million in methamphetamine. The smugglers had sealed the drugs inside hundreds of cans labeled Happy Hound Gourmet Lamb Stew. Their plan fell apart when an actual custom sniffer dog went ballistic around the shipment, apparently insulted by the false advertising. Investigators said the packaging was professionally done, but the ingredient list gave it away. Lamb, rice, and silica powder? That's one crunchy dinner. The criminals insisted they were just importing pet products, which might have worked if the cans weren't literally sweating chemicals. The irony? The dogs at the port probably did a better job detecting the meth than the humans who packed it. It's poetic justice when man's best friend becomes the one to ruin man's worst idea. Somewhere, that sniffer dog is still wagging his tail and demanding a raise. 9. The statue of Smuggerty, approximately 180 words. When Italian police saw a shipment labeled religious statues, they didn't expect to find the Virgin Mary filled with more than divine spirit. Inside her plaster robe were bricks of cocaine, carefully molded into her torso. The smugglers called it holy cargo, apparently hoping Jesus would handle customs. The problem? The statue weighed 50 pounds more than it should have. Officers became suspicious when the delivery men struggled to lift it off the truck, like two guys trying to bench press salvation. An X-ray revealed her miraculous heart was pure narcotics. When interrogated, one of the traffickers said, "We thought she'd protect us. Maybe spiritually, but not legally." The irony is almost biblical, trying to hide sin inside a saint. The statue was confiscated, and the bust made international news as Our Lady of Perpetual Cocaine. Somewhere in an evidence locker, she's still standing tall, a monument to faith misplaced and criminal creativity gone hilariously wrong. 10. The snow globe incident, approximately 170 words. Airport security deals with weird gifts all the time, but few as festive as the snow globe filled with cocaine. In 2016, A woman flying from Argentina to Madrid thought she had the perfect disguise, a Christmas ornament full of fake snow. Unfortunately, her fake snow tested 100% real cocaine. She'd filled the base with liquid meth, sealed it tight, and even included a little plastic Santa. What gave her away? The globe didn't shake right. Instead of the charming swirl of winter magic, it sloshed like a toddler's science project. When customs tested it, Santa's cheerful smile turned into Exhibit A. The woman claimed she didn't know, saying it was a gift from a friend who apparently celebrates Christmas by sending felony charges. Officials said they'd seen people hide drugs in shoes, wigs, even diapers, but never inside Santa's personal snowstorm. That day, Christmas spirit met criminal spirit, and both ended up on the naughty list. 11. The candy bar catastrophe, approximately 190 words. In 2014, British police uncovered a massive smuggling ring that had one sweet idea gone sour. They disguised bricks of cocaine as chocolate bars. The gang used actual candy wrappers from famous brands, printed with fake barcodes and nutrition facts like 100% cocoa satisfaction. It was almost convincing until officers realized the bars were solid white. When they cut one open, it wasn't nougat. It was narcotics. One officer said the smell was more chemical than chocolate. The smugglers had used a candy factory to press the blocks into perfect bar shapes, each weighing a pound. Their marketing slogan could have been Snickers, now with 10,000% more felony. When the bust hit the news, late-night hosts dubbed it Willy Wonka and the Crack Factory. The irony? Their product probably would have sold faster if it had actually been chocolate. The ring's leader tried to claim it was experimental candy, but the judge had one response. That's not how sweet deals work. 12. The Dead Man's Passport, approximately 160 words. In 2008, a German smuggler decided to get creative, or maybe just lazy. He tried to fly into Greece using a corpse as cover. The plan? Pose as a grieving relative transporting a dead body home for burial. The twist: he'd stuffed several pounds of heroin inside the coffin's lining. Everything went smoothly until airport staff noticed the deceased gentleman had a fresh passport. When questioned, the smuggler explained that the dead man wanted to travel one last time. Security didn't appreciate the poetry. They opened the coffin and found enough drugs to wake the dead. The smuggler reportedly panicked and said, "It wasn't my idea. It was his." Apparently, not even ghosts are safe from bad accomplices. The operation was dubbed Weekend at Heroini's, and while the smuggler earned no sympathy, he did win a special place in crime history as the first man to turn a funeral into a felony. 13. The drone disaster, approximately 180 words. Technology has advanced fast, but not as fast as stupidity. In 2020, Mexican police intercepted a drone trying to fly over the U.S. border. Its cargo? 2 pounds of crystal meth taped underneath like a horrifying Amazon Prime delivery. The pilot thought he could guide it via GPS and drop the drugs discreetly into a parking lot. What he didn't account for was battery life. The drone ran out of power midair and crashed directly onto a police car. Officers followed the signal to his laptop, where he was still flying it virtually, unaware that his drone had already gone full kamikaze. The man told investigators he got the idea from watching YouTube tutorials, which raises a big question. What part of "don't try this at home" did he think was optional? The incident became so infamous that Border Patrol started calling intercepted drones meth angels. It turns out, when you mix technology and crime, gravity always wins. 14. The Granny with a Green Thumb, approximately 200 words. In 2019, a 73-year-old woman from the UK became an accidental drug trafficker, thanks to her love of gardening. She ordered what she thought were decorative poppy seeds online to plant in her backyard. Unfortunately, they weren't just decorative. They were raw opium poppy seeds from Afghanistan. Customs caught the shipment and raided her home after she'd already planted half her garden. Imagine officers walking through a suburban flower bed that looked like a pharmaceutical festival. When questioned, she insisted she thought they were just pretty. One officer said, "Ma'am, these are the prettiest felonies we've ever seen." She avoided jail because the court believed her, but her story became legend among law enforcement. The grandma who almost grew her way into the cartel business. Ironically, her garden did win third place at the county fair before being seized as evidence. They say crime doesn't pay, but hers bloomed beautifully before it got weeded out. 15. The ice cream truck sting, approximately 190 words. Some criminals hide their operations in plain sight, and others add sprinkles. In 2018, Los Angeles police busted an ice cream truck selling something a little extra with every cone: meth and ecstasy popsicles. The driver, a man in his 50s, had been operating the Happy Treats truck for months, blasting kids' music while serving special customers' code phrases like 2 scoops with rainbow dust. It might have worked longer if he hadn't parked directly outside a police station. When officers got curious about why a line of adults was buying ice cream at 10 a.m., they ran a quick search. The freezer hid false bottoms filled with drugs. And the cherry on top? He used real ice cream as insulation. Locals joked it was the first time cops arrested a man for too much Rocky Road. The driver claimed he was just diversifying the menu. The judge didn't find it funny, sentencing him to a cone of cold reality, 12 years behind bars. 16. The fishy shipment, approximately 180 words. In 2017, Chilean customs officers intercepted a cargo of frozen fish that was suspiciously expensive. Each tuna weighed the same, packed with surgical precision, not exactly the ocean's style. When they thawed one, they found vacuum-sealed packets of cocaine neatly stuffed inside the belly cavity, like a criminal seafood buffet. The traffickers had gone full sushi chef, gutting, refilling, and resealing each fish before freezing them solid. The plan might have worked if they hadn't declared the shipment as premium fresh catch, while it was clearly frozen solid for weeks. The officer who cracked the case said the smell alone could have knocked out Poseidon. When confronted, the importer swore he was in the seafood business. Sure, the sea of drugs. Authorities said it was the most expensive sushi in South America, with a street value of $30 million. Moral of the story? If your tuna needs a bodyguard and an accountant, maybe it's not just dinner. 17. The burrito brick operation, approximately 170 words. At first glance, the police in Nogales, Arizona, thought someone had left their lunch behind, a bag full of burritos neatly wrapped in foil. But one officer noticed something odd. They were heavy, really heavy. Turns out they weren't burritos at all, just kilos of methamphetamine molded into perfect tortilla rolls, wrapped, labeled, and even tagged with a fake restaurant logo. The traffickers apparently thought, who's going to question Mexican food in Arizona? Unfortunately, the smell gave it away. When police opened one, it didn't smell like carne asada. It smelled like a chemistry lab. The bust totaled over $350,000 in narcotics. One officer joked, "Best burritos I've never eaten." The ringleader later admitted he came up with the idea after watching a Taco Bell commercial about thinking outside the bun. Ironically, his business plan worked great until he found out prison doesn't serve lunch that creative. 18. The toothpaste train, approximately 185 words. In 2015, Spanish authorities discovered a shipment of Colgate toothpaste tubes filled with liquid cocaine. The cargo was headed for supermarkets across Madrid. The smugglers had replaced the minty paste with an equally white, much more profitable substance, but forgot one small thing: toothpaste doesn't slosh. Customs agents noticed the tubes were heavier and produced a suspicious gurgle when squeezed. The operation unraveled fast, revealing over 20,000 tubes filled with more powder than a ski resort. The ringleader reportedly bragged that it was the cleanest smuggling job ever. True, until he was arrested mid-dental checkup. Authorities dubbed the case Operation Fresh Breath, proving once again that criminals should stick to flossing, not distribution. The toothpaste was destroyed, though one officer joked they'd considered using it to polish police vehicles. It had great shine, just a bit too addictive. Somewhere, a marketing exec is still kicking themselves for missing the slogan, Colgate, for a whiter, more euphoric smile. 19. The Lego Loader, approximately 190 words. In 2021, Australian police busted a smuggling ring that hid millions of dollars worth of cocaine inside boxes of Lego sets. The toys arrived from South America looking perfectly normal. Colorful bricks, instruction manuals, and cheerful pictures of children building castles. Except the castles were kilos. The traffickers had melted the Lego pieces, inserted cocaine packets, and resealed them to look brand new. Their one mistake? They accidentally sent one box to a real toy store by accident. A confused clerk opened it and immediately called police after finding a suspiciously unfun surprise. When investigators arrived, they found dozens of similar boxes in a warehouse labeled Playtime Imports. One officer said, "This is the first time we've arrested anyone for building with controlled substances." The irony? The drug ring's slogan was, "We build connections." They sure did, with law enforcement. It's proof that no matter how clever the disguise, you can't hide felony behind a smiling Lego man. The Snake Suitcase, approximately 175 words. In 2019, customs officers in Hong Kong opened a suitcase that was moving. Inside were 2 live boa constrictors and 25 kilos of heroin wrapped around them like decorative scarves. The passenger claimed they were his emotional support snakes. Technically true, they were supporting his entire drug operation. The trafficker thought the live reptiles would deter inspection. Instead, they fascinated the agents, who called animal control before realizing the serpents were strapped with narcotics like scaly mules. One officer said, "The snakes were calm, probably the most professional part of the operation." The man insisted he was an exotic pet importer. Sure, because that explains the heroin corsets. Both snakes were safely removed and relocated to a sanctuary, where they probably now spend their days basking and judging human stupidity. The passenger, on the other hand, got a new habitat too, one with steel bars and no terrarium lighting. 21. The Coffin Cruise, approximately 195 words. In 2018, Caribbean authorities intercepted a hearse on its way to a cemetery ferry. Inside was a coffin, nothing strange there, except the body was breathing. When they opened it, they found a very alive man covered in formaldehyde-smelling rags, surrounded by 20 kilos of cocaine. His plan? Pretend to be dead long enough to make it to Puerto Rico. The mourning relatives driving the hearse were accomplices dressed in black, complete with tissues and fake tears. They even played sad music. Everything was perfect, until the corpse sneezed. Officers at the checkpoint heard the sneeze through the coffin's ventilation holes. When they pried it open, the man tried to stay still, whispering, "I'm resting." He was promptly arrested, bringing a new meaning to grave mistake. The operation was later nicknamed Weekend at Pablo's, and local police called it the most dramatic bust we've ever had. The lesson: if your smuggling plan relies on pretending to be dead, it's probably DOA, dead on arrival. 22. The Smuggling Granny Express, approximately 190 words. In 2017, airport security in Madrid stopped an elderly woman who looked like everyone's favorite grandma. Floral dress, knitting bag, and kind eyes. She claimed she was visiting her grandson. What she didn't mention was that her yarn balls were actually wrapped cocaine. When scanned, each ball glowed bright white, leading one officer to mutter, "That's one creative crochet." She confessed she'd been promised a free vacation if she delivered the bag to a man in a blue hat. Apparently, she didn't realize that blue hat was cartel slang, not a fashion statement. The story made international headlines as the Cocaine Granny, and memes flooded the internet showing her as Breaking Bad Knitting Edition. Ironically, her defense lawyer described her as a sweet woman who didn't know she was committing a crime. Maybe, but her knitting projects definitely took high fiber to a new level. She's now banned from international travel, though rumor says the prison warden asked her to teach crochet classes. 23. The Shampoo Special, approximately 175 words. In 2016, customs officials at Heathrow Airport discovered a shampoo shipment that promised ultra volume. They weren't lying. Each bottle was full of liquid cocaine. The traffickers had perfectly resealed the caps and even printed labels boasting infused with botanical extracts. Unless botanical referred to coca plants, that was false advertising. Security dogs caught the scent after one bottle leaked during transport, filling the warehouse with what officers described as minty despair. The criminal group had planned to sell the drugs disguised as luxury hair products in high-end salons. The kicker? One of the ringleaders was actually a hairdresser. He said, "It's just a side hustle." Sure, and prison's just a career change. Authorities seized over $12 million worth of product and joked it was the most expensive conditioner in history. The irony? Every bottle claimed to add shine and energy. It did, just not legally. 24. The Avocado Cartel, approximately 190 words. In 2019, U.S. Border Patrol officers stopped a truck labeled Fresh Avocados, Keep Cool. Inside were crates of perfectly shaped fruit. But something was off. The avocados were suspiciously uniform and heavy. Turns out they were made of wax and filled with methamphetamine. The smugglers had hand-painted each one with green pigment, giving new meaning to the phrase, guac is extra. Agents estimated the load contained $2 million worth of drugs. When arrested, the driver said, "I just deliver produce." Yeah, produce that makes you see sound. Officials dubbed it Operation Holy Guacamole. Even late-night TV had a field day. Mexican cartels now control both breakfast toast and drug markets. The detail that really killed me? They even included fake avocado stickers with a logo reading 100% natural. It's the only time in history where the avocado toast trend got someone a felony. Moral of the story: if your fruit doesn't ripen but your heart races, it's not organic. 25. The Mail Order Mule, approximately 180 words. One smuggler in 2018 decided he could outsmart airport security with modern technology by mailing himself. Authorities in Colombia intercepted a giant shipping crate addressed to Private Receiver Miami. Inside was a man surrounded by snacks, water bottles, and, surprise, 20 kilos of cocaine taped to the sides. His plan was to cross international borders by freight, then walk away once the box arrived. Unfortunately, air freight warehouses aren't known for comfort. Mid-flight, the temperature dropped, and he started pounding on the box for help. Workers thought they'd found a ghost. Customs opened it and discovered a half-frozen man yelling, "I paid for express shipping." The story made global headlines as the human parcel. When questioned, he admitted, "It seemed cheaper than a plane ticket." True, but not cheaper than prison. Somewhere, a DHL employee still jokes that he's the only package who ever tried to sign himself for delivery. 26. The Frozen Flamingo Fiasco, approximately 185 words. In 2015, Dutch customs found a crate labeled taxidermy art, arriving from Peru. Inside were several stuffed flamingos, elegant, pink, and perfectly preserved, except their necks were unnaturally thick. X-rays revealed each bird's hollowed spine was filled with cocaine. The traffickers had literally turned endangered wildlife into drug mules. Officials called it one of the most disturbing yet stupid smuggling attempts ever recorded. The importer claimed he was an art dealer specializing in tropical decor, which might have been believable if the flamingos hadn't reeked like chemical bleach. The case caused international outrage and led to new wildlife scanning policies. The irony? The smugglers could have used anything, yet chose the one symbol of flamboyant visibility. Nothing screams, "Hide me," like a neon pink bird. The bust was valued at $10 million, but the true legacy is eternal. Whenever someone mentions flamingos in Dutch customs now, officers just roll their eyes and say, "Not again." 27. The Wheel of Fortune, approximately 190 words. In 2020, a Colombian man thought he'd cracked the perfect plan: hide cocaine inside bicycle tires. He shipped dozens of brand new racing bikes to Europe, each wheel lined with sealed tubes of powdered drugs. Unfortunately, a customs agent noticed something strange, but the tires were flat. When he tried to inflate one, it exploded like a fireworks show. Powder flew everywhere, coating the inspection room, and half the officers in pure white. For a few seconds, it looked like a snowstorm in July. The trafficker was caught within hours after posting on social media, "My bikes finally made it to Spain." He claimed it was a fitness business, which was true. His customers were about to be very energetic. Police dubbed the bust Tour de Cocaine. One investigator said, "We've seen drug runners, but never drug cyclists." In the end, his plan went down faster than a Tour de France crash. If you're going to spin your wheels, maybe don't fill them with felonies. And that's it. 27 of the dumbest drug smuggling fails ever caught. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, hit like, and stay brilliantly stupid-free.